lifting one side. You don't want this coming down on you. You're going to regret it. So once I get the wheel off, I'll start the video as to doing the repair on the brake. You might run across some issues when it comes to dealing with some of the front brakes on these Fords. And I'll show you what. Look at that. Batteries died. Oh, you see that? Torque screws, 3 of them, to hold the front rotor on. You need a specialized toolkit like the one you see here. And this Torx bit. Now, not everybody has access to this kind of tool. So, if you run into this issue, don't try to break it off, don't try to do anything like that. Go rent the tool or do something. Because this kind of work has to be done properly or you risk your life. I bought this toolkit. It comes with specialized sockets. And it's a Mastercraft. So you can buy them. They're about 100, 150 bucks. So I'm using a T50 is what that torque screw is. It's a T50. So keep that in mind if you're working on these Fords. They generally use the same size of torque screw in order to lock these to the hub. Another tool you might want to have doing brakes is the disc brake tool set. As you can see, this makes any job easier. It has all the proper fittings and everything you need to be able to do your brake caliper piston push. So if you have to turn it in or press it in, this is the job, the tool you need to do the job. And I got it from Canadian Tire. It's a $200 part, so if you decide you want to get one, it's worth it. So the object of this is, you get this bolt off, and that one, and then you pull the caliper off, and then you got to pull out the brake pads, which are inside, on both sides, and then you got to take out the rotor, and then replace them. Lube everything up properly. All the points have to be lubed. Put it all back together and torque it down to its specifics, and then this wheel's done. I've got to do this on this side. All 4 wheels have to be done. So I'm only going to make a video on this one wheel because it's pretty easy. Back's the hardest, fronts are the easiest. Just so you have an idea what's going on. It's always best to lube up all the points that are rusty and clean them up. Another pointer about when you do your brakes is that most people don't think about this. Shops most of the time don't think about it either. But when you put brakes on a vehicle, always have some throttle cleaner, brake clean, or something like that. When you get your new rotors, what happens is they come in a plastic, and they're always covered in an oil. That's to prevent them from rusting. So you got to remember, right, if you want your brake pads to eat out a quarter of their life, like within a few months, always wash off your rotors before you put them on. They're already cross-hatched, everything's ready to go. But this oil content that's on here will cause some serious damage to your brakes. So always remember, yet again, clean it off. And as you can see, old to new, hell of a difference. So I will get back to you when I get more info. Here's a little view of the brake drum rotor. Rusted all to hell. And the condition of this one. Wheel bearing's still in good shape. Back plate's a bit rusty. Always make sure you put the back plate back to the way it was, because when you're removing the brake, sometimes you can remove the back shield and it will rub up against the back of the rotor, and it will just cause a most horrendous noise. So if you get that chance, always double check what you do. You don't want to forget anything, and always clean up all the surfaces if you can. So when you're buying your brake pads, the most common mistake people make, and I suggest you always question the parts guy. If he doesn't know, order your parts, but open them in front of them. And if you only see your box with a set of new brake pads that don't have the brake wear marker on them, and in the box you don't see new clips. And the clips are these little things right here that hold the brake pad in place and help them glide back and forth. Now, if your brake pad kit does not have those pieces brand new like these are, then you basically just say screw it and you don't buy them. You tell them you want a set of brake pads that have the anti-rattle clips. Anti-rattle clips, remember that. It's very important, because if you're going to do your own brakes or have someone do them for you, have all the parts, or they have to reuse old parts, and to do that they have to be cleaned and probably bent back into shape if they haven't rusted all the hell. So keep that in mind when you're doing your brake pad buying. Even drums, anything brake related, if for some reason they don't put everything in the kit, and you think you're paying enough to get them, but you're not really getting everything you need. So make sure you have everything. Now when you're reusing old clips, because you don't have new ones with your brand new brake pads, you basically have to brush out the old stuff, clean it the best you can, which is not always an easy task, by the way. Everything's so corroded and rusted and damaged that, you know, you're not going to try to make everything brand new, although that would be nice, you just buy new. But you got to clean them out, wire brush them, and you also have to take out these pins. Make sure they turn and move in and out nice and smooth. If they do, don't bother with them, because you might just mess something else up. But if they're good, you don't find any grinding, any kind of resistance at all, that means take them out, clean them. If you got no resistance, everything's nice and smooth, leave it alone. But if you're meticulous about things, you can take them out and you can clean them and you can use grease. But you got to buy the proper grease to use, because not just any grease will work. Bearing grease and stuff like that will eventually heat up. Although it's heat resistant, it becomes more liquefied and it rolls out. And then it ends up drying here and these seize up real quick. You actually need brake lube. So keep that in mind. So once you've cleaned out the clips for the brake pads, what you want to do is have brake anti-seize. It's actually just anti-seize, but you buy this stuff is a lifesaver. This stuff does not just wear out and roll away, it stays put. You know, you can use it on your bolts, you can use it on anything that you don't want to bind or you want something to seal when you thread it in. Works perfectly. So when you're doing this, you take some anti-seize. God, mine's all dried out. And you stick it inside the clips. Not much. Enough to get it just a little bit in there so that the rust doesn't build up, and so that when the pads are in here they will actually move freely inside of here. It's exactly what you want, is for them to actually be able to move freely inside of here, or else they end up binding up against the rotor, and even though the caliper is allowing it to move back, it won't, and that will cause gouging and tearing and a lot of loud noises, squeaking especially. If you got that, that's probably because the brake pads aren't moving. So make sure you keep that in mind when you're doing your brakes. That's how it should look. Just like that. Like that. The other thing is, I forgot, I should do this, is that you want to put just a little bit on the outsides. Just as a precautionary guide. I mean, it does help to prevent any rust getting in behind the clips, but it also helps for any kind of binding. It will slide past it and won't allow it to catch, and that's something you definitely want to make sure you don't have. So With that said, I'm going to go and put these back on the van.